possibly the biggest scandal in Minecraft history just got exposed. The #1 player for years, who dominated everyone in every category, turned out to be a banned hacker, catfishing the entire community under a new identity for years. How in the world could this have happened? Well, it will all start to make sense when you realize just how far the corruption actually goes. And even though Marlow has been completely exposed, this doesn't seem to be over at all, as the owner of the entire server would go live trying to explain everything away, but only making things even more suspicious, and everyone in the community was in the stream just not buying it. So we're getting to the bottom of this today. So we need to understand what Minecraft PvP actually is. There's obviously a bunch of different ways to play Minecraft, and most people know about Minecraft speedrunning, but there's also Minecraft PvP, which players have been playing for a very long time, and even I myself dabbled in Hunger Games back in the day. This game mode was legit. But the community ended up creating a much more competitive system, and they created a ranking system called MC Tiers. And while initially it was an amazing group initiative, it would soon find itself completely infiltrated and eventually taken over. And it's actually just insane looking back, because there are so many warning signs that were ignored, or instances where they were basically caught cheating and somehow got away with it. Let's take a look at the first situation where that happened. This was a few years ago, back in 2023. This is one of the PvP categories, and it's actually the game mode Marlow was the best at. But people started to realize that Marlow was actually placing crystals faster than what was physically possible. Clips started circulating around the community, and Marlow was forced to respond. Marlow actually released a mod called the Crystal Optimizer that makes crystal placement client-sided. So now everyone could place crystals extremely fast. And I mean, this video is pretty epic. Have you ever wanted to crystal fast? Step 1. Download my Crystal Optimizer mod, link in description. Make sure it's okay to use on the server you play. We'll get to that. This optimization can dramatically improve the speed at which you crystal. Really? Now, this tool is actually pretty awesome, but hold on a second. Let's rewind a second here. This was not allowed, period. This means that Marlow was using a secret mod for months without telling anyone and getting an insane competitive advantage, and then once they were called out on it, post a YouTube video about it and act like they were just gonna do it anyway. And the community accepted it. And there's a lot more instances where Marlow is nearly caught that we're gonna get to. But one of the main reasons why Marlow actually could get away with so much is something we need to talk about, and it's Marlow's massive influence over the entire system. These are some of the very deep flaws with MC Tiers. Aximity uploaded this video over a month ago. Competitive Minecraft is a joke, and other people have shared this sentiment, but he puts it pretty well.
The competitive Minecraft scene that's had the entire community in a chokehold over the past few years is a straight up joke, filled with cheaters, staff abusing their powers, mass manipulation, and in some cases, straight up illegal activity among some of the top players and influences within the community.
And yeah, after I looked into this whole situation and all of the illegal and shady stuff going on here, I was truly shocked. But let's start with one of this community's main issues. I touched on this on my full exposing of Marlow in my last video, and one of the main issues with Minecraft PvP is the lack of an actual elo system. A lot of it boils down to you testing against other people who are volunteers, and then just decide where to rank you based on your performance. It doesn't have any actual algorithmic ties like you'll see in Minecraft speedrunning with their elo system, in the ranked mode at least. And of course, any other competitive game you think about, whether that's chess, League of Legends, literally anything, they all have a hidden elo MMR system. But for this, it was heavily tied to people's opinions. But one of the most absurd things about this whole situation that I want to touch on more now is the creator Zay, who over 2 years ago completely exposed Marlow as a catfish. And not only that, they were an infamous player named Danger Mario, who was completely blacklisted from the community. I mean, this dude literally went detective mode, putting together the most crazy evidence to bring this all together.
Okay, wouldn't it be real funny if you guys were all just getting trapped? You guys were all getting like catfish. I mean, the thing is though, like the Minecraft community, that would be some stuff to come out. Like, I'm not even gonna be not even gonna front.
Marlow, I'm sure everyone here is very familiar with her being one of the 3 owners of the vanilla tier list and generally considered a role model within the community. However, over time people have started to question Marlow's true identity, with many people suspecting she is the alt account of an old Anarchy player named Danger Mario. So today, I'm going to tell you the untold story of Marlow, and how she went from being a relatively unknown Anarchy player to creating an entirely fake persona and ultimately manipulating and controlling the Crystal PvP community under the disguise of an innocent girl.
But the saddest part is, despite a mountain of evidence, nobody believed this guy. And Marlow would be able to weasel themselves deeper and deeper into the community, not just becoming the best player in all of Crystal PvP, but soon becoming the best player in almost every single category. And then of course using this new clout to become an admin, and eventually near total control of the entire system. But there were still people in the community extremely skeptical of Marlow, especially because more instances of very suspicious activity kept happening. Because there was also instances where Marlow was accused of using a hotbar macro,
where many people pointed out inconsistencies in her hotbar that weren't normal.
It wasn't there. Was it? Right there. Did you see that, chat? Okay, look at the anchors in her hotbar.
Marlow responded and said it was due to a performance mod. However, when tested, her reasoning was proven to be flawed, which is clearly proven by a deleted video I'm going to show you guys.
The specific detail was actually caused by a performance mod that updates the in-game HUD at a lower frame rate.
Again, Marlow should have been caught right here, but due to the corruption that I've mentioned and that we'll get to, Marlow was pretty much able to just brush this off. But even more would start to pile on.
Now we're going to talk about the notorious clips that have been going around recently, starting off with the infamous Netpaw clip. As you can see, every single time Marlow tries to pot, she's flicking back at Swight and trying to hit him, which makes absolutely no sense. Like, why would someone ever do this? Unless some sort of cheat was forcing them to look in a certain direction, which conflicted with what Marlow actually wanted to do. And while it does seem extremely suspicious to me, it's very easy to say that she was just panicking or gave up. Another incident which occurred was when Marlow during a tier 1 sword test was down 110 versus N-Lock, and after fixing her audio, returned much better and was able to bring the score back up to 17 to 20. During the start of the test, N-Lock is absolutely destroying Marlow. Then Marlow starts complaining about her sound, and N-Lock hits her with the ice cold fix it. This is when Marlow gets her second round, and eventually she brings the score all the way back up to 9-11. Even though this is very possible to do legit, it still brings up a lot of suspicion, especially since it's at a tier 1 level.
And there's even more instances like this that this creator covers. Highly recommend the rest of their video for even more details. But one of the most insane things to me is that Marlow would actually refuse playing while screen sharing, which during the Axe tier list, pretty much every single player would have to screen share during their test. Well, everyone except one player, Marlow. And you see, Marlow was suspected of macroing, and when they asked for her to do a screen share, she just straight up refused.
It is ridiculous that the #1 player is able to have all of these accusations of her possibly cheating and never having to disprove them. If she didn't own the network, she would have had to prove her legitimacy 100 times by now. I would know because I used to get screen shared every single test I did on the Axe tier list. Marlow posted a video of her buying a brand new laptop and hand camming fights on the new laptop to prove that she doesn't cheat. However, there were a ton of inconsistencies, and later in the video, it was her getting screen shared on said laptop after a tier test. To my knowledge, this is the only instance Marlow has been screen shared. But the biggest thing that makes this unfair is that she knew she was getting screen shared.
But now we have something so egregious, so suspicious. I genuinely cannot believe the entire community did not realize right here.
I'm gonna show you guys the new evidence that nobody has talked about so far. Alright, so it all started in around May of 2025. Vexay, the previous high tier 1 sword player, had challenged Marlow to a 1st to 20, and if Marlow was able to beat him, she would get $350. If she lost, she wouldn't lose anything. Keep in mind, Marlow had already beaten Vexay 20 to 14 on MC PvP before. She agreed and they were both ready to fight. The only problem was it had to be on Mineman Club. This was a massive problem for Marlow. Because if you don't know what Mineman Club is, it's known by many of the top players to have the best anti-cheat among all the 1.9 plus servers. Here I have a screenshot from Intel Edits, a Hydra 2 sword player, and an admin on Mineman explaining the Mineman anti-cheat. He says that Mineman's anti-cheat has been used to catch numerous high-profile cheaters and can detect a wide variety of closet cheats, and it's the best 1.20 anti-cheat by far. Another thing that people should be mindful of is that Mineman's anti-cheat, as well as most other anti-cheats, don't ban players instantly. When it comes to closet cheats, they typically require a staff member to manually review logs before any actions are taken. He says from his experience, Mineman's anti-cheat is easily the strongest or most reliable anti-cheat to detect cheaters. Marlow obviously knew how good the anti-cheat was, and if she were cheating, she would almost certainly get banned. But as a low tier 1 player who had already beaten him before, if she performed badly, it would look equally as bad for her. So in this situation, what could Marlow do? If you're wondering what I mean by this, Marlow accepted the duel around 11 PM for Vexit. However, even though she said she was available to fight right now, she said she had to change her mod pack, and it took her 3 hours just to do that. As an expert on mod packs, I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever, and taking 3 hours just to change her mods is absolutely insane. However, eventually she got on Mineman. After getting on, it took her around an hour to accept the duel, and after she was in the duel, she obviously knew Vexay thought she was cheating, so she decided to fake T-bot for 30 minutes and failed to do it. I don't know why she would ever do this, but whatever. I have a clip on screen of her doing this and it's absolutely hilarious. Like, what is she even doing?
Marlow basically ended up stalling for the entire time, refusing to fight even while on the server. So how was nobody actually speaking up about this blatant suspicious activity? Well, it's simple. We've already talked about the conflict of interest with Marlow being the #1 player and such a high-ranking admin who controls who gets banned and whatnot. So is it really any surprise that a lot of the players just don't publicly go after Marlow when their entire reputation is on the line and the possibility of them getting banned and blacklisted? No, it's actually really not that surprising at all, especially when you find out just how insane the blacklisting system actually is. Do you remember what happened to Critically that I talked about the other day? After literally watching Marlow cheat, he would do this.
I said in the vanilla tier list general that Marlow cheats, and I got perm banned for destructive behavior. Like, we aren't catching people who cheat or ult, but I'm permanently banned from all the discords and MC tiers for saying someone cheats. That's just a crazy power trip.
And you want to know how hard it is to get unblacklisted in case it was, you know, not warranted? Well, the player Voyo has personal experience with this.
Although it is definitely a long story, I do not excuse my past actions, as they were completely wrong. However, all of these things happened in early to mid 2023, where I was 16 to 17 years old. Since then, I've grown and learned to be a trustworthy, functioning member of the community, and I chose to stick to my main account to this day because I believed I would be forgiven and served justice within the Minecraft community, as long as time had passed and I could prove that I was a rehabilitated and safe Minecraft player. However, through appeals of the tier list, as well as different servers and communities closely tied to the tier list, I discovered that I would rarely receive justice as I once thought I could. A few months after my offences took place, I sought to appeal my blacklist from MC tiers. However, I couldn't find a way to do it because I was banned from the tier list Discord servers, and the community blacklist hub did not exist yet. I do remember there was a method to appeal your blacklist somehow though. I ended up contacting a friend who was friends with admins of the tier list who got them talking about if I should be unbanned to the admins. The admins discussed, however, they didn't involve me whatsoever, not inviting me to a ticket or to the conversation in any way, leaving themselves to talk about what they know without me getting to defend myself regarding questions and possible falsehoods of my case. In the end, they denied my blacklist appeal. Some defended me while others condemned me, with RYRV being the primary person against me. The main issue with this is that they didn't even include me in the appealing process, not giving me a chance to defend my case. Even when I asked my friend to tell them to directly talk to me about the situation, it didn't end up happening. I chose not to appeal again for over a year, until the time that I felt that I have a good chance of being unblacklisted. But by then, I realized that there was no way for me to appeal, because the appeals were closed. Even after the community blacklist hub was created, appeals have not been opened yet at all, and I've not had the opportunity to appeal, even if I wanted to.
Now, whether these players are unbanned or not is completely subjective, but one thing for sure isn't, and that's of course that you can't cheat your way to the top while being an admin who blacklists anyone who calls it out. Now again, one of the really suspicious things about this scandal is the PvP club owner was basically hand in hand with Marlow at a certain point. He would actually go on live stream, and it was absolutely insane to hear what he said. Let's just say the community was not having it in his chat.
So, from the recent video, there's a lot of stuff, but I just want to clear up some things about me and like Danger Mario, maybe Marlow, and like PvP Club. So, okay, when PvP Club first started, it was kind of together with MC Vanilla. It's a server called MC Vanilla. It was like a SMP server, kind of, and it kind of shared a hub. And Danger Mario owned MC Vanilla and I owned PvP Club, but at the time, I didn't have the funds to host PvP Club, and so Danger Mario had invested, invested by helping cover the costs of hosting PvP Club. And one thing to clarify is that, okay, so Danger Mario came from like the 2B2T community, and you know, most people probably know that the 2B2T community, or like people involved in there, like to have these crazy plots and come up with crazy plots and try to execute them and stuff. And so like Danger Mario is like not a good person. He's very sociopathic, and it's just bad news to kind of get involved. But he left everything back in 2022 or 2023. But he never owned PvP Club. Let me just...
It seems like everyone we've covered in this video is in his chat asking questions, and it just doesn't seem like anything's adding up.
Were those screenshots in the Aximity video real? No. I don't think so. At least, the stuff that I know didn't happen as the PvP Club owner over the past 5 years. Like the videos claiming certain things that just didn't happen.
But now, where do we go from here? The MC tiers ladder seems to be kind of compromised and cooked. However, the player Flowtives would come forward with this.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Yeah, cat's out of the bag again. I've already talked about this, but I'm doing it again. I am making a rank system. I'm done with all the bullshit. I'm done with everything all the bad things that have happened. I want to make some good out of it. So I have decided to, oh, that is not, what the, so let me give you guys a rundown of what the plan is, how I plan on doing this, and what is going to happen. So, this is Flow PvP. This is my server. This was going to be a standalone project that I was just going to do for fun because I hated MC PvP. I thought the server sucked and I didn't want to play on it. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to develop my own server because I have the funding and, you know, I have friends who will do it for me. And this was just going to be something for fun. Now, here's the thing. I realize that there are not a lot of people in the community who can make a good tier list and can, you know, run things well. So I saw the whole, you know, Danger Mario shit. Obviously it sucks, but at the end of the day, you know, someone has to step up and try to, you know, fix what's broken, right? So, Flow PvP, this will be similar to what MC PvP is, but there will also be a ranked system attached to it. So, tomorrow will be the first open beta, or the second open beta, sorry, of Flow PvP.
This already seems like a massive step in the right direction. And if you want to fill yourself in even more with this whole scandal, I covered the entire story of Marlow getting exposed right here. And of course, all of the creators I mentioned in this video have a lot of information as well. Anyway, I look forward to seeing what you think on this situation. Let me know in the comments.